Story number two comes around applying for college and the standardized testing system, the SAT and ACT process, and if it's still going to be a requirement as the standard. Dartmouth became the first Ivy League school to bring back standardized testing admissions requirements, meaning you actually had to submit your SAT or ACT score to put in your application to go to this Ivy League school, Dartmouth. As we look at it, it's been 4 years since the pandemic shut down testing centers, prompting thousands of schools to make these SAT and ACT exams optional to take and optional to submit. So, when we look at applying for schools, it was no longer based on what was that SAT score. It was based on other factors that went away from this standardized testing option. But now, as schools begin to reckon and change with questions around the legacy applicants, meaning my parents went here, how am I going to get in? And a Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action, they're rethinking their admissions criteria once again. First, we must identify the massive gap in college applications. Nearly 90% of students from wealthy families go to college, 90%, compared to about 65% from income families and around 50% from low income families. Think about that, 90%, 65%, 50%. A Harvard study found that students from the top 1% of households are 2 times as likely to be admitted to and attend an Ivy League school than applicants with similar test scores from middle class families. The response from Dartmouth, obviously, this is one of those hot button topics that is going to get a lot of push in both directions. Why we're here to discuss it is for you to get your 2 cents and your understanding of this concept. But the response from Dartmouth was that it found standardized testing was giving the lower income applicants a leg up. Think about that. That was counterintuitive to what I originally would have thought, but the university is coming out and saying these standardized tests help lower income households get into schools like Ivy League, Dartmouth. By evaluating test scores with the student's high school in mind, it said it's easier to identify high performers from less resourced communities. So if I look at all of the applications and the standardized tests compared to what school they came from, you can notice who is jumping up and above the norm or, pun intended, standard. Now, critics of standardized testing say it favors the wealthy. Of course, students and parents spent a record $1 billion on tutors, classes, softwares to prep for these standardized tests in 2019. If you've ever seen Friday Night Lights, Smash gets about $1,000 to go take an SAT prep class. He never takes it. He ends up, taking steroids, and that's not what we're here to talk about. But those courses, those classes, those preps, how many pre-tests did you take? How many books did you read? How many tutors did you have? $1 billion were spent preparing for these quote unquote standardized tests, yet the preparation is anything but standard. The Princeton Review's most popular online SAT prep course runs at about $2,000. Then you look at the actual testing costs of maybe $60, $90, or $100 a test. And while a limited number of fee waivers are available, wealthier students can afford to retake tests more and more times. And remember, pre-tests are also costly. What happened after colleges dropped this testing requirement, this standardization? Well, applications flooded into colleges like Hogwarts letters. Anybody get that one? In turn, acceptance rates dropped by a lot. So more people began to apply without the requirement of standardized testing, and the acceptance rates dropped significantly. Facing this tough competition, school counselors have questioned how quote unquote optional these standardized tests really were. MIT also brought back its standardized exams, said high scores sweeten a student's application, especially when they don't have access to as many AP classes or extracurricular additions to their resume. So MIT, Dartmouth are requiring Standardized testing, what is that ACT or a SAT score? Questions for your classroom. Do you think standardized tests are fair? How much would you pay for an SAT, ACT prep resource? And if you could, how would you change the application process? Keep the exam, lose the exam, or think of something all new altogether? This is a question that some of your classmates will be asking as they look at college. Is college for everyone? Absolutely not. Something we talk a lot about here at Money Vehicle is there are many paths to drive your money vehicle down to lead to your success and your financial success. You choose what lifestyle you want, what career you want, and if college is in your future, are you going to start studying for the SAT or ACT again?